Hi, my name is Sam, and I've been looking for online administrative support through Upwork. I hired many people over many years and haven't been able to communicate with people in a way where they could recognize the process whereby you stand and take action. Um, Most people tell me that I make it a little too complicated. So I'm going to make some videos and see if anybody can give feedback that might be able to help. First thing that we do is we establish a condition that we call standing. And the way we do it is we seek to make standing by notifying the group, because there's a few people helping. So I search for prior events and I reuse one so that I can inherit the format. I alter the date and time to match my present moment so that it becomes my moment of standing. It's an instance where anybody who was working together would know that this indicates me basically saying virtually, I'm here. So I'm present, I stand, and it has a moment in time, and then I'll address a focus so that anybody who is willing to help could participate in the process. First, they have to stand, and this has been a major fail point because people don't want to make a condition where they stand. So this is an event. It's going to be mapped to my calendar so that each person's effort will go to his or her own calendar. So what you do stands in your stead. So you stand in time, in a moment. We call that an instance. And on that instance, you actually have something you could point to. So since we're working with events, you put your effort into an event, and that event stands on the calendar at the date and time that you're actually performing whatever it is you're doing. So here's mine. I just created it. I can open it, and I can share it by name, and I apply the name, and I map the name according to my time zone, the date and the time. And since it's an instance, the date and the time are the same for the beginning and the end. And now I put it also in the memo so that I can tell if somebody's abiding by the process where the name comes first, last, it comes at the begin and the end. And it's the same name, which is an event, which we define as three elements: when, what, who. Once that exists, I have a situation now where you could see that I stand on the calendar, and it'll link and relate to my own workbook where I document what I do. We document things using Google Documents. So if I have standing, I can recognize that I can stand in different periods. Now, I stand present here in 2024. The date happens to be February 14th. But when I focus on any objective, I have to go to that objective's standing. So I would actually be able to work present, in the past, and in the future. And the way I do that is I establish that I stand present and I work from my present, but I work on, and that depends upon what I'm working on. So in this case, this is 2024, and this is the group of standing for any effort that's done on this date. It shows here on the calendar. We can go to it. I can share by link, and I can establish that it stands here with a path. And the purpose of these are just to send notification. It's a really basic way of saying I'm present, I'm here, and anybody who knows what we're doing would be able to say, okay, well, what is it that you focused upon, and what was your effort? All effort, we hold that effort is the basis of everything. So notify is the first intention. I'm trying to notify anybody who would help. I'm present, I'm here, and I'm going to be working with a particular focus. Now, I inherited review document as a source, and it goes to document, but I'm going to actually review an event. So I'm going to just alter that to reflect that I'm going to review an event, cancel. and it actually doesn't link properly. So what we can do is we can create this notes document in the event so that I can document what I see and what I identify. And then if anybody were to do this, we could collaborate so that everybody's focal point becomes a point of convergence where everybody could say, okay, this is the point that we're going to stand upon. And from that, then we orient. And the idea of orientation means that you're going to go based upon where you're standing to from that point to the prior and the next. And then from that point, you'll validate that there actually is a relation between that event prior and the next at 6 different points. We call that I6WH, which is inquiry by the 6WH questions. General what is a container for when, what, who, where, why, how. So if we apply this as our methodology for everything that we're focused on, we're basically asking what, and then we're going to, this is actually from Object Pascal, where we recognize that we're going to have a container, and the container is going to have a beginning and an end. And now I indent it to show that I'm here, but in the end, I should actually have an object. So this is going to be the object, and we'll objectify all the things that we're describing. And then we'll use light red to indicate that we have a quest or question that we're seeking. And then the question is, well, what are we seeking? And we call that general what. And we do everything on a level or scope of general, specific, and unique. So the question here is general what, and it should also be a typecast, meaning it's all capital letters, and it'll be set apart as well. So we'll actually end up making a mirrored type of hierarchy where we're going to establish where we stand in that hierarchy. And then this one should result in specification of general what, which is also going to be an entity. And the process that is indicating the quest is actually an event. So we have event and entity as our conceptual framework that looks at what we're doing as either being action-based, which is time, as the fundamental, or event-based, which is material, as the fundamental. But they interplay, and they will go from action to object. And there should be a step-by-step process where we go action, object, action, object, action, object. What we confront, we're going to call our focus, and the focus will also exist for us as a type, and we give it a name. And then the question has become if people would define the words so that we can share the same point of convergence. You can't just say yes and not take action when action's called for and needed. And if there's a need to relate, link, and orient, it's understood that a person that says yes would do that. So this actually becomes a reflection of, did somebody or anybody who's involved actually do this? And since it's a reflection, these would actually change order. And we go from the word to the name to the type. And we designate those and we bracket them similar to what's done in, I think it's Hyletics from, it's an Aristotelian concept, but it was promulgated by Edmund Husserl in his phenomenology. And we're going to use that so that we have a typecast. And the typecast, of course, is going to be an objective. We want to have an objective, but then that focus becomes our action. So once we agree that we're going to make an inflection point where first, did anybody define the word? And every word is going to be listed, and then we have a tab called list, and we do a tag cloud concept so that when you define a word, it brings in all the similarities. We do Control F search, and we could confirm that it exists, and we could confirm who actually defined that term. So here, as a word, we've actually got everybody involved, 4 different administrators that have defined it. And the goal of the definition is that if I say I'm going to define focus, it's a process whereby it's explicitly stated, define focus, and then the end point is focused defined. So we'll see if that exists, define focus. And if it does, we should see it explicitly laid out to where there's no question that we have here, a bookmark where it says define focus, and then it's lacking the closure that would be focus defined. This has been a big problem because this is should be a state, a delivery of a state that the people who processed it confirmed that that state exists, such that focus has been defined. Now, the definition that we use will be a general definition obtained from typing define and then whatever the word is into the URL, with the goal that we can grab it, apply some basic format so we can then look at it and see, well, what part pertains to what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do is establish the ability to identify from any point of focus an identity that allows you to relate and link and apply a series of workflows that can allow you to jump into any point in a transaction. And from that point, you can trace or vouch. Tracing would be going back in time and touching upon each relation and each workflow of whoever touched upon that. And the vouching would be if we take everything we look at is considered a document. So we could take any document and vouch going forward that as a type, this document, and then we go forward and relate it to establish that it has correlation to the base. So for instance, if it's a bank statement, that document and all of its elements would be broken down and each element would be followed through. So a particular transaction on a particular day could link to where we reconcile that day and confirm that it exists there. Somebody's processed it and it exists on actually all three sides on a 3-tier accounting system. So you know not only the debit and credit aspect, but you have integrity with regard to who did it, when did they do it, and what did they do. Thank you.